Imagine standing on a windswept plain, the air thick with the scent of earth and ash, where the sky churns with ominous clouds. This is the world your ancestors knew, a world that tried, time and again, to erase them. Yet here you are, a living testament to their defiance. How did they survive when the odds were stacked against them? What cunning, grit, or sheer luck kept our lineage from vanishing into the dust of extinction? Let's journey back to the crucible of human survival. 2 moments when the earth itself seemed to conspire against us, and uncover the epic escapes that shaped who we are. Picture a time, roughly 74,000 years ago, when the Toba supervolcano erupted in what is now Indonesia. The explosion was apocalyptic, spewing ash that blanketed the skies for years, plunging the planet into a volcanic winter. Temperatures plummeted, plants withered, and the animals our ancestors hunted dwindled. The human population, already small, teetered on the brink. Some estimates suggest fewer than 10,000 of us remained. Can you feel the desperation? The gnawing hunger as the landscape turned barren? Yet your ancestors adapted. They weren't just passive victims of fate. Evidence from archaeological sites in India shows they crafted tools from volcanic glass, sharpening their ingenuity alongside their blades. They likely huddled in small bands, sharing what little they had, their social bonds a lifeline in the dark. These were no superheroes, just people like you, clinging to hope, learning to read the land in new ways, and outsmarting a world gone cold. Now, shift your gaze further back, to around 195,000 years ago, when early Homo sapiens faced a different beast. The African savannas, once lush, became parched wastelands as glaciers locked up the Earth's water. Rivers shrank, and the megafauna, giant beasts that fed our ancestors, began to vanish. Starvation loomed, but so did opportunity. Fossils and tools from Ethiopia's Omo River Valley reveal how our kin pivoted. They turned to the coasts, harvesting shellfish and fish, resources untouched by the drought. Imagine the first time someone cracked open a mussel, tasting survival in its salty flesh. This wasn't just a meal, it was a revolution. Coastal migrations began, spreading our ancestors along shorelines, their footprints etched in now submerged sands. They learned the tides, the seasons of the sea, and in doing so, they didn't just survive, they expanded, carrying their genes and knowledge to new horizons. But extinction events weren't always so gradual. Let's step into a moment 66 million years ago. Not for humans, but for the world that shaped us. The Chicxulub asteroid slammed into the Yucatan, unleashing firestorms and a global blackout. That killed the dinosaurs. Why does this matter to you? Because in the shadow of that catastrophe, small, scurrying mammals, our distant ancestors, found their chance. Burrowing beneath the chaos, they survived on insects and seeds while giants perished. Their resilience, encoded in your DNA, whispers of a truth. Sometimes, survival means staying small, staying hidden, biding your time. Doesn't that make you wonder what quiet strengths you carry from those unassuming creatures? Now, fast forward to a closer threat, around 40,000 years ago, when modern humans shared Europe with Neanderthals during a volatile climate shift. Rapid warming and cooling cycles turned forests to tundra and back again, disrupting food supplies. Neanderthals, stocky and strong, were built for the cold, but our ancestors had something else: flexibility. Sites like France's Grotte Chauvet reveal their edge art, symbols, and tools that suggest complex communication. They wove nets, trapped small game, and shared knowledge across generations. Each escape was a gamble, a dance with destruction. Your ancestors faced volcanoes, ice, and cosmic collisions. Yet they endured through ingenuity, adaptability, and community. Their triumphs are your inheritance, a legacy of resilience that pulses in every choice you make. What would it feel like to stand in their shoes, to face a world that roars for your end, and still choose to fight? Think of the firelight flickering on the faces of those ancient survivors, their eyes reflecting a world that refused to let them rest. Every extinction event was a test, a gauntlet thrown down by nature, and your ancestors met it with a stubborn will to endure. Let's walk deeper into their story, into moments where the Earth's fury met human resolve, and see how they carved a path through chaos to ensure your existence. Consider the Younger Dryas, around 12,900 years ago, when the planet lurched into a sudden freeze. The warming world, which had begun to nurture early human settlements, snapped back into a 1,000-year chill. Glaciers crept forward, and the megafauna mastodons, giant sloths that fed growing communities, collapsed. In the Levant, where early farmers had just begun to sow seeds, the cold killed their fragile crops. Starvation stalked the land, but your ancestors didn't falter. Archaeological digs at Göbekli Tepe in modern Turkey reveal something astonishing. They built monumental stone circles, not just for survival, but for meaning. These weren't mere shelters. They were acts of defiance, gathering places where people shared stories, rituals, and plans. Can you picture them, hauling stones under a frostbitten sky, their breath clouding as they wove their community tighter? They turned to hunting again, tracking smaller game, and learned to store wild grains. This pivot to resilience laid the roots of agriculture, a legacy that feeds you today. Now, leap to a different crisis. Around 7,000 years ago, when the Black Sea transformed from a freshwater lake into a saltwater abyss, rising Mediterranean waters breached a natural dam, flooding the region in a deluge that submerged villages. Imagine the Terra families fleeing as their homes vanished beneath waves, their fields salted beyond recovery. Yet, from this catastrophe, your ancestors forged a new chapter. Displaced groups migrated, carrying their knowledge of farming and herding. Sites in Bulgaria and Romania show how these refugees adapted, building anew on higher ground. Their tools and pottery blending old ways with new. They didn't just survive, they spread, their movements seeding the cultures of Europe. Doesn't it stir something in you to think how their loss became a catalyst, how their footsteps echo in the cities we walk today? But not all threats were so dramatic. Around 4,200 years ago, a prolonged drought gripped the world, toppling early civilizations. In Mesopotamia, the Akkadian Empire crumbled as rivers dried and dust choked the fields. Your ancestors, scattered across these lands, faced a quieter but no less deadly foe: scarcity. Texts from the period lament abandoned cities, but the survivors tell a different story. Nomadic herders, less tethered to failing rivers, thrived where urban elites fell. Their camps, found in Syria's deserts, show how they mastered mobility, following sparse rains and trading with those who clung to shrinking oases. Picture their caravans, weathered faces scanning the horizon for clouds, their lives a testament to adaptability. Their blood runs in you, a reminder that sometimes survival means letting go, moving on, finding new ways to belong. Each of these escapes volcanic winters, cosmic impacts, floods, and droughts shaped not just our ancestors' lives but their minds. They learned to anticipate, to innovate, to lean on each other. The tools they crafted, the stories they told, the communities they built were all weapons against oblivion. Look at your own hands. They carry the calluses of those who knapped flint, sowed seeds, and raised stones against the dark. What does it mean to inherit such a legacy? To know that every step you take is on ground they fought to hold. As you stand here, in a world of your own challenges, their story whispers a truth. Extinction events aren't just ancient history. They're the crucible that forged us. The reason you can face uncertainty and still choose to create, to connect, to endure. Your ancestors didn't just escape, they redefined what it means to be human. And in every choice you make, you carry their fire forward, a spark that no catastrophe could ever extinguish.